Welcome to On the Bauble podcast episode 15. I'm your host, Sabasa J. Ueda, and with me is my co-host, Yuki Lee Bender. It's been 2 weeks since our last episode. Today's episode, we are going to be talking about our experience at Worlds and how we did, and we're also going to be going over what we liked about Worlds and what we didn't. Yuki, what did you like about Worlds this year?
I think for me, it was still fun. Like it was a fun event to play in, and the games and the company really made the event. So just like all the people there, getting to see everybody, visiting with people, playing the main event, playing some other stuff on the side with friends, like all of that was really enjoyable. So I think like just like the general atmosphere and just facilitating a space was like really good, and like the I don't want to say the atmosphere, but like the mood of the venue, like of like all the people around there was quite positive. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think I agree. I really miss like that GP experience from like Magic the Gathering where you basically got to grind all weekend and like play as many events or as little events as you wanted to. I ended up playing a bunch of side events on Saturday and Sunday because I didn't do as well as I wanted to at Worlds, but yeah, I got to play a lot of side events. Like I basically took every moment and like I was there until basically the venue closed on all the days and to try and get the extra drafted, that extra side event in. And honestly that was real fun and real good.
So another thing that I think went well was I felt like the event was generally pretty well run. Like the judges felt pretty organized, instructions were pretty clear, and things just kind of moved along at a pretty decent pace. Of course, there's time between rounds, but it's kind of unavoidable when you have, I think it was about 350 players. So overall, like I just thought the event was really quite well run. I didn't have any complaints about any of that. Maybe just like a very minor thing that it felt weird when we did the draft portion. So we draft our decks, we take them to another table to build, where we are building away from our pod, which makes a lot of sense. But then when we are filling in our deck list, we are verifying it ourselves, which felt a little bit strange. I was kind of surprised that we didn't get the person sitting across from us to verify our list, but
Yeah, honestly, I feel the same way. During the draft portion, because they made us move, I wish that they would made us just switch decks and then just verify the other players' pool. Obviously, the cards are stamped, so like it's very difficult to like organize with other people like which cards you guys can switch off or whatnot. But even then, like just that possibility of that happening, if you just like had the other person sitting across from you verify, that could have just saved the whole issue essentially.
yeah, and it feels like pretty. It doesn't take. It's no extra work for them, right? Besides like giving the instruction on what to do and how to do it. So it felt like it would have been pretty low cost to do, and I know a lot of people were a little bit surprised. It wasn't. It wasn't like the biggest detail, biggest deal. It wasn't a deal breaker or anything, but it was just sort of like a small thing that felt like it could have been better.
Yeah, I think so too. The one thing though I thought was a little bit not weird, but like I wish that they would do a little bit better is the dragons. So during the draft portion, all the dragons got switched out with a checklist card. It's like a checklist card, but with that.
It had the dragon marked on it in like a gold sharpie, so it was quite clear which dragon it was.
Yeah, so after that, you actually had to line up in front of like the main judge station to try and go pick up your dragon. And it was a little bit tedious to do that. I wish they either had like two stations where you can like pick up your dragons a little bit faster instead of waiting like 5 or 10 minutes in line. Or like just not even have the players pick up the dragons and just play with the checklist card. Honestly, that probably would have worked too.
Yeah, I think especially at Worlds, like people probably know what the dragons are. Um,
Or even better, if the dragons were at like the tokens area.
I think the issue there is then people know that there was a dragon in the pack, and then they might be able to deduce when you took it. So
Wait, no, like not in the in like the tokens area. You know when you got to had to go pick up your fies and your weapons and stuff.
oh, I suppose. Yeah. I guess it's just the majestic dragons at that point if they were worried about people like taking them or something. But
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, you're right. You're right. There are still a couple of like $1, $2 dragons. I guess it's also pretty tedious for them to go like find these rares and like have
yeah,
an abundance of them. Yeah, I think the other thing that went well was the side events. The side events were organized pretty well and they fired on time. Like it was pretty good. They were very well organized on like just having these events fire and fire and fire. The only thing that didn't go, I think, as planned was the calling, which was a little bit unfortunate. Where actually in like the first round of the calling, a bunch of people, including some of our friends, didn't get properly registered. So like they just didn't have a pairing on the first round. Do you remember that?
I heard about it. Yeah.
Yeah, so like a couple of my friends, like Lucas, I think, wasn't in the event the first time around, so then they had to like repair the whole first round. And after the repair, he still wasn't in it, but then more people got dropped instead. So like the first time around, I think one of our friend, who was it? Was it Ian? I think Ian was in originally and he had a pairing, and then after the repair, he didn't have a pairing anymore. And then all the people who didn't have the pairing on the first round also didn't have the pairing. So like essentially no one got added in and then more people got dropped instead or something like that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and it sounded like not a nightmare, but just a stressful first round of like trying to like figure out who you're trying to play on the first round of the calling. But looks like everything got figured out in the end, and the rest of the calling seems like it went out pretty smoothly.
Yeah, I think I heard it was just like a gem problem. So
Oh, I see, I see. And I really like the side events, like how it was all spaced out and scheduled. It was actually like you actually got to play a bunch of the events, and then you didn't have this like problem of like some events where you played one side event and then after completing that side event there was like nothing else you could play. There wasn't anything like that, where the events were spaced out nicely so that you could play one event. After you're done that, you can play a different event, and then you can play a third event if you really wanted to, something like that, which I really enjoyed.
yeah, that's really cool. I actually didn't end up playing any side events. I was playing main event first 2 days, and then last day I sort of just hung around the venue, talked to people, played some stuff on the side with some friends, but no actual side events.
Was there anything that you thought that didn't go particularly well?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it's like been said, and a lot of people have common criticisms, but I will just echo them that I think the venue could have been better. It wasn't too bad. Like I didn't have as many issues with it as a lot of people, but mostly just like the lighting. It was really, really dark in there. Every time you went outside, you were just like, wow, it's so much brighter outside. So that was not great. And it being a tent was like, yeah, it was like a nicer tent. It didn't super bother me, but it wasn't like the most exciting venue for such a big event. It felt like a notable step down compared to New Jersey or Lille. So that was a little bit unfortunate. Yeah, washroom situation there was also like they were pretty decent washrooms, but just being in a separate detached building was less than ideal, I guess.
Yeah, I actually didn't mind the venue at all. I thought it was a little bit on the colder side,
Mm-hmm.
but on Saturday there was so many people inside the venue that it was like actually like a good temperature instead of it being like ridiculously hot or cold. So I actually didn't mind that venue. It was in November, so it was a little bit colder outside, and then you cram like 500-600 people in that area, and then the temperature rises just enough that it was like actually it was like a good temperature where I still had my hoodie on, and then I wasn't freezing or too hot.
Yeah, I think the temperature was fine. It was a little bit cold, like first thing, but after that, I thought it was okay.
I think one thing that I just wanted to talk about was the dinner, the banquet. So there was a players banquet for the Worlds player, and also any of the players that wanted to buy a ticket to the banquet also could get in. This was on the Thursday before Worlds. And honestly, that dinner was very disappointing. I didn't go to the dinner for New Jersey or Lille, but this is the only one I've been to so far. And by the time me and my friend got inside, the only food we could get was literally salad.
Yeah. Yeah, the lineup to get in was extremely long. It took a lot of people almost an hour to get in, which was too bad. Maybe they could have had more people verifying names. And then, yeah, like you said, I had the same thing that food was gone by the time I got in, which was disappointing because you wait in line around dinner time and then you wait an hour and you're like, oh, there's no food. And then when there finally was food again, it was like very limited amounts and you had to line up again. So it was it was not great. And the pizza that they ordered was fine, but
Did you actually get a slice?
I did later. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even get a slice.
Yeah. I got one later and I felt lucky to get one, but like which is like a weird thing to say. But I just know a lot of people didn't get to eat. So
Yeah, I actually had a lot of salad. The lineup for the salad was very short. And I feel like I ate like so they had those like huge like party bowl salad containers. I feel like I ate half of one of them. Just like yeah, I
yeah.
think during the whole thing, like I was like sitting with Yuki for a little bit. I was eating salad. I was sitting with other people. I was just eating salad. I was like with my friend Mateo, and I was still eating salad. And then the one random time I went back up, they had like tater tots, and I was just like, "Yo, not salad food!" And I got some tater tots and like some cheese sauce or whatever, and then I got salad. So I had a lot of salad.
Nice.
Uh,
Yeah. And I think it's a problem like it's not great in general and especially if they are because I think they were selling tickets for people that weren't Worlds players like
oh yeah,
$50 to get in. And I minded less as somebody who's going for free. Like it was still disappointing. But if I spent $50 and I didn't get any food, I'd be pretty upset.
yeah. I think my friend Mateo, he came down with me, down to San Jose. And he's only playing the calling, and he essentially just bought one of these dinner tickets because he thought that he wanted to hang out with us essentially that night because if he didn't buy the ticket, then what's he gonna do? Like stay at his hotel room the day earlier? So he ended up buying the ticket to come to the World's banquet, and it was like $50. He got a beer, got some salad. I think he also didn't get pizza either. So
Yeah. It's just yeah, definitely could have been better. We didn't have the same problems at New Jersey or at Lille. There was I think they ran out of a couple of things at the end, like some of the popular items, but there was still food, and they eventually like took the food away because nobody was going for it, kind of thing.
yeah, I think that's like the that should be how it is. I think, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's reasonable to run out of a few things if they're very popular. Like that's always going to happen. But I
Yeah,
just felt
yeah.
like just like plenty of food, and I think the food was also probably better. So yeah,
Well, the only thing that you can eat there was pizza, right?
yeah, pizza or salad.
Okay, I think that's enough of about the banquet.
Yeah, again, overall, I think the event was like very successful, and I had a lot of fun that weekend. But there's definitely a few things that could have been just a little bit better.
A little bit, yeah. Because me and Mateo was actually at the very end of the lineup for the banquet, so like we got in like a good 45 minutes like late, or like we were in lineup outside for like 45 minutes, and then we got in, and then there's no more food, so we left early essentially to go get food.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
fair.
a little medium.
All right. Do you want to go on to talk about how our world's events did and kind of go round by round?
Sure. Let's go round by round. Or do you want to do? Let's do like format by format. I think that might be a little bit better.
Sure.
I guess I'll start. So for my Worlds Day one, I ended up drafting Dromai. I feel like I got forced into Dromai on my draft, and I ended up with a quite a mediocre Dromai deck. I only had like one red Ember Maul. Most of my red cards were in like the one sweeping blow, one rake the embers. So essentially like one of each of like the Dromai's commons, and then like two dragons. but my deck had a lot of 3 blocks. I ended up drafting Fog Down as like just for the pure 3 block, and I was pretty happy with my pick, honestly. And I just was trying to grind people out, create a couple of Ashwings. I had a Silken form, so like was trying to edge people out by having more 3 blocks than other people. Yeah, so I ended up going 2-1 in my draft with that deck, and I won my first round, lost my second, and won my third. I'll be honest, I don't remember my matches that well, being a week. This event was a week ago, and I don't remember almost anything about my first draft, which means that those games are very, very non exciting. And I feel like I just blocked for 9 and then swung with 1 card, like a dust up or something every turn. Very unexciting games.
Yeah, fair enough. So my first draft, I ended up drafting Dromai as well. My table, I believe, was 2 Phi, 3 Dromai, 3 Icelander. The Phi decks were extremely good. But I also was kind of forced into Dromai. My very first pack was like one of the weirdest packs I ever opened. I had double Insidious Drill in it, like the Majestic and the foil slot were both Insidious Drill. And then I think there was like also like a blue Aether Hail and a red Aether Ice Vein in the pack. It was just absurd. Like it was really, really stacked for Icelander. And I wasn't super excited about taking an Icelander card from that pack. And then just putting everybody else into Icelander. So I think I ended up taking I think there was like a red Findles Fighting Spirit. And I figured that just taking that and then being in either Phi or Dromai would put me in the best spot. And it turned out that even though there was only 2 Phis at the table, they were both passing to me directly. So there was like Phi was very, very cut for me. So I kind of ended up going into Dromai. So is what it is. I played one of each class. I played a Phi and lost. His deck was really good. I think he hit me for 12 one turn and then 16 like the rest of the turns, and like one of the turns was like 20. Like it was just not even close to being a game. He just hit me very hard over and over again and didn't really miss. I won a Dromai mirror against like a weaker Dromai deck. I think I just had the stronger Dromai list. And then I played against an Icelander, and yeah, I just kind of made Ashwings, and he wasn't really able to get through, and he wasn't able to deal with me attacking him with Senepais for 7 over and over again. So I ended up going 2-1 after the draft and feeling pretty decent. I felt like my Dromai deck was like solid, but not fantastic.
Yeah, I feel like that was the feel I had as well. I ended up the draft. I was like, I'm probably gonna go 2-1.
Yeah, exactly.
So both myself and Yuki were both 2-1 starting the day, which I was pretty happy with. How did you feel starting 2-1?
Yeah, I was feeling pretty good. Of course, you love to 3-0, but you can't always 3-0, and 2-1's a good enough record. And I think considering having like kind of middling decks, you've got to be pretty happy with a 2-1.
Yeah. Okay, and then the second portion of day 1 is CC. So for myself, so we play Worlds. You end up playing 5 rounds of CC, and I played Phi in the CC portion. So my first round I played against the Dromai, and I don't know how many of you know, but Phi versus Dromai, it's pretty unwinnable for the Dromai player. So I ended up playing quite awful. Like I think I missed 2 or 3 Mask of Momentum triggers. I missed like 4 damage off my Phi ability. I just played awful, is what I remember from that game. And then I promptly won that game. So yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is a pretty tough matchup for Dromai. At least like the traditional dragon builds, because you just get all these mass triggers off their dragons. It's yeah, it's very rough.
Hmm. And then my second round, I play against Oliver Phi. He's from it's OKNY.
Yeah, okay, NY podcast.
Yeah, and he destroys me, and he's on Icelander. The game was very close, but he had Channel Lake frigid up for just the whole game. Like it felt like an eternity. Every single time I'll be like, "Oh, finally the Channel Lake's gone." You just play another one, and then he would have two counters on that one, and then that one goes away, and then he plays a third one, and then puts a counter on it. The game was really close, but I drew all my belittles, basically all my epots, and was not. I still couldn't win. It was like soul crushing, honestly. My third round of CC, I play against another Icelander, and to my surprise, they didn't draw Channel Lake Frigids, so I won that game. And then my round 4 and 5, I actually don't remember which order I played them, but it was a Fi and a Briar, but I had lost a die roll in both of it. I put my opponent to one in both games, but then I lost. So it's one of those the aggro mirror die roll is very important matchups, and I lost the die roll. So ended up
Mm.
going 2-3 in the CC portion, and that puts my total record to 4-4, which was very disappointing for me, honestly. I really wanted to go 5-3 at minimum, hopefully 6-2, but that didn't happen. So basically, after this, I was like pretty sure that I wasn't going to. I was gonna have to fight really hard to try and top 64 this event. How did your CC portion go?
So for CC, I was playing Icelander. Very similar list to what Michael Hamilton actually ended up playing. Not that I had just sort of been inspired by his nationals list and largely borrowed from it with a few tweaks, and decided to go with that since it's what I knew. My first round of CC, so this is round 4. I was against Tarek Patel, and sort of running back our nationals matchup. He was on Oldham. I ended up winning this game. I got 2 Frost Hexes pretty early, and then he had a bit of a life lead. And at some point, I think I established an Insidious Chill, and I Aether Ice Fiend him, like a red one, and he had 4 reds in hand, and then he crowned into another red, and it felt like he just could never catch up after that. I think it would have been close regardless, but that was definitely like a major tipping point in the game. So I ended up winning that one against Tarek. The next round, I actually lose to an Oldham. The So I'm quite confident in this matchup, but I just end up drawing like very slow hands, like a lot of like all blue hands that don't have any setup pieces either. And as this is happening, Oldham just keeps like coming in for 10 dominate with glacials. I think he went like 10 dominate, 10 dominate, and then I finally drew reds, and he opened me and he bottomed both my reds. So
Ooh,
like,
wait. He natural oakened you without pulses?
yeah, he natural opened me without pulses, and I block. I think it's like an Ice Eternal. I keep an Ice Eternal and 2 reds. It's like a Sink and a Wounded Bull or something like this. Like both cards, I'm happy to Arsenal. He bottoms the 2 reds, and I'm stuck with the Ice Eternal, which does literal nothing. Um, so yeah, I was just down like 20 life from the start of the game, and it just felt like I could never ever catch up. So I lose that one. I play an Icelander Mirror where I kind of just get to like set up and be the one to combo off first. I don't actually kill him, but I think I get him down to like 4-ish life, and I still have Striders up, so there's just no way for him to really win. Um, so going into round 7, I'm currently X and 2, so 4-2. And I play a friend of the pod, Isaac Jessen. He's on Dromai. I end up losing this game. It's quite close. We almost go to time, but just barely don't. And essentially, like a major tipping point was when he tumultized my. He resolves tumulti, attacks me, and I can't Striders and kill it in response because I only have blues that don't actually kill tumulti. And not only that, I didn't have a red attack or anything, so he just tumultized my boots, and I just have to sit there and block. And then he tumultized my tunic, and I just have to sit there and block. And then I end up killing it like on my turn. And it's just way too much. Just disaster. I think I get him down to like 18 and have like kind of some outs with an Isoternal combo, but he ends up drawing into too many blues. Then finally, I lose my, or sorry, I win my last round to a Phi player, and it's just sort of like, yeah, we just trade damage pretty aggressively. I have Channel Lake out with 2 flow counters, so I have it for 3 of the turns. He never really gets to Art of War. I wouldn't say that my draws were particularly fantastic. Like I wasn't chaining Ice Veins on him. I think I might have resolved like 1 or 2. And his draws were also not exciting. He didn't draw any Art of Wars. He like had a mask turn where he put me down to 16 or so, but it felt like enough life to work with that I could kind of keep the game close and win off Striders. So yeah, I guess that puts me at 5-3 end of the day. Decently happy with this. Kind of like Jay said, I think similar. Like I would have hoped to be X and 2 or better, but X and 3 is sort of like the minimum that I would be still happy with. Like I think below that I definitely would have been disappointed, but X and 3 was like, I'm gonna have to work really hard, but I'm still live for top 8 if I win out, and top 16, top 32, top 64 are all within reach as well. So feeling okay about the day overall.
Yeah, 5-3 is probably like a good is like is a spot where I would have been pretty happy. Not happy with, but like I wouldn't have been like down on myself. When I was 4-4, I was like pretty down on myself. I was like, man, I don't really want to show up the next day.
Yeah, because so for anybody that doesn't know, X and 4 is the record for top 8. But if you're X and 4, you probably need to lose on like your very last round or your second last round for your 4th loss. So technically at X and 3, if you win out to the last round, so you get 7 wins, it's probably a losing in. But once you're 4-4, you need to win out to top 16. And then I think if you drop 1 game, you top 32. And
Yeah,
maybe
lose 2
2 games,
games.
you top 64. It depends probably when you lose, right?
Yeah. At 6-4, there were some players that didn't make it.
Yeah. There's definitely some X6s. I think it went all the way down to like almost 80 or so. So
Yeah.
there was a lot that did make the cut, but there was a decent chunk that didn't as well.
Okay, let's move on to the second day. I guess I'll start this time. Or again. So my second draft, I ended up forcing Phi. This draft was a little bit awkward. I ended up getting passed by another Phi, but the signals that I was getting in the early packs were a little bit not confusing, but there wasn't any reason for me to switch into Icelander after I've picked. Oh man, what is that card? I'm blanking on that card. The 0 for 5 with the
Lava Burst?
yes. I ended up pack one pick oneing a Lava Burst, and then I just didn't see any reason to pick up like a Blue Frosting or like none of the cards that I was like willing to trade or switch off into Icelander for, and the draw my cards were just relatively weak. So I just didn't find a reason to essentially switch off. And then by the time I realized the guy passing to me wasn't Phi, I was like already too late. And to make things worse, in pack 2, I ended up opening Sasha Sandakai. And I was like pretty happy that I opened up a Sasha Sandakai. But in the same pack, I'm seeing a Mounting Anger red. So it's this like really weird spot where I'm like, oh, I picked the Sash and passing the Mounting Anger red. I really want this Mounting Anger red, but I'm not gonna pass up a Sash of Sandakai for a Mounting Anger. So I ended up picking up the Sash of Sandakai and passing this Mounting Anger. And then on my second pack 2 pick 2, I peel out my pack, and then I have a Sasha Sandakai in that pack, and no other good Phi cards.
Yeah, that feels bad.
And I'm just like, wow, I take this yellow Ronin Renegade, and I pass the guy Sasha Sandakai.
Oh my goodness. That hurts a little bit.
And I'm just like, I feel like if I was just like dumb and greedy and been like, wow, red Mounting Anger, this card's so good in my deck, and picked it, and then get rewarded with the Sasha Sandakai on pack 2 pick 2, my deck would have been so much better. But instead, I ended up with like super awkward pick orders, and then yeah, my deck was just like the most medium Fi deck I've ever had so far. But I did get to play with Tome of Firebrand, and that leads me directly into my first round, where I have this like I think pack 3, pick 11 Tome of Firebrand in my deck, and I'm playing against a Dromai on the first round. And my opponent's Dromai deck is seems pretty good, and just he was hitting me with like red ember mauls. But there was just this one turn where I'm just like, I looked at my hand and I'm like, wait, I can Tome of Firebrand off a Sash of Sandakai and try and go off with Tide Flippers. And that's exactly what happened. And I ended up doing like 21 damage with Tome of Firebrand through his blocks or something like that. And he was just like looking at me and just like, what just happened? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I Tome of Firebranded you. And he just like he just walked away. Like he seemed pretty pissed, honestly, that I just like basically high rolled him off the because we're both 4-4, right? So like I basically knocked him out of like most prizing through just like not drawing the Tomo Firebrand turn against him.
Must be nice.
Yeah, my fight deck was so bad. I had the Tomo Firebrand people.
How'd the rest of your draft go?
The rest of my draft was quite bad. I think I ended up playing against an Icelander player, which then I side out my Tomo Firebrand and add like a yellow instead. And then I promptly lost that. And then on the third round I play against the Fimir, and my Fi deck, oh, I think this is the Fi player that I passed to, or like was passing to me. So his deck was just better than mine in like every way possible. Yeah.
Oh no.
It's like I'm attacking for 2 go again, and then 2 go again, then Ember Blade for 3, and then Phoenix Flame for 1, and then he'll be like a pitch of blue for a 4, then the Ember Blade, then the 3 go again, then the Phoenix Flame, then Lava Burst, and I'm like, that's where my deck went.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so I end up going 1-2 in this draft. So my final record after this is 5-6. Yes, 5-6. So at this point, I'm basically out for top. I'm definitely out for top 32. I'm at the point where like I'm thinking to myself, if I win out, do I even top 64? Is like the spot I'm in at this point. I was like, at this point, I'm like looking at side event schedules, and I'm like, okay, so I guess I should take my free roll and play my next round and see if I win or not. And like, or do I drop now and put a draft in before this next side event so then I can like try and maximize my EV? And that's basically what I was doing like right after this draft. I was like running around looking at the side event schedule and being like, oh, there's a classic constructed double up that I could play. Wait, there's a blitz double up I can play. On demand draft? Oh, maybe that's not that good. That's what I was doing the whole day.
Yeah, fair enough. It definitely reaches that point where you got to figure out what you're going to be doing instead.
So how did your draft go?
So I end up drafting Icelander. I think my pod is 2 Icelander, 2 Dromai, and 4 Fi. My Icelander deck is absurd. I know that you saw it, and I think, what was your comment? I think you said it looks like a blitz deck.
Yes. It really did look like a blitz deck. It just didn't have wounded bulls, you know?
Yeah, like I have like a Pauper and Red Brothers in Arms. I have 2 Red Aether Ice Fiends, 2 Blue Aether Ice Fiends. I think I have like, what is it, 3 red Aether Hails, a yellow Aether Hail, 2 blues. I have lots of the premium blues as well, like 2 Cold Snaps, 2 Arctic Incarcerations. I have an Insidious Chill with plenty of fused targets. So my deck is really, really good. And I have basically all the equipment. I'm missing Quelling Slippers, but other than that, I have all the equipment. So feeling really good about my draft, since I do kind of like, in order to top 8, I do need to win out. And so this is a deck that looks like it can 3-0, and I'm feeling great. So my first round, I play against a Dromai. His deck is actually very, very, very good. He just repeatedly plays dragons. He gets some Ashwings. I think he has like an early Uvia as well. And the game is just pretty tough. I do manage to clear a little bit with a Singe to manage his Ashwings and kind of keep it from spiraling out of control. But I'm down on life most of the game, and I kind of take a spot to establish an Insidious Chill, and I do end up triggering it 3 times, which is actually what ultimately leads me to be able to come back in the game, and just kind of, yeah, just kill him, do way more damage than he can possibly block because of the Insidious and the Aether Ice Veins. So very like down to the wire, but yeah, pretty exciting game.
Wow, when Insidious Chill wins you the game, it must feel pretty good. It must feel pretty bad for the other side.
Yeah, he was a bit surprised. He said, "Oh, I feel like this card doesn't usually get value, but in draft, but when it does, it's good." And I was like, I
Well,
think I'm a little higher in the card, but
yeah, I think
yeah,
at least our pod, we're pretty high on Insidious Chill.
yeah, it's like you do need to land it in the first couple of turns, or you won't get value. But I mean, it's still just like a blue ice card the rest of the time, so
Hmm.
it's totally fine. Second round, I play against a Phi, which I'm feeling pretty good about because I know that it's one of 4 Phis, and it's somebody that I know from the Netherlands, Wouter, and he kind of tells me that he's not super in love with his deck, so I'm feeling pretty good. Like, good matchup. Happy that my opponent isn't thrilled with their deck, but I end up losing the die roll, having to go first. I decide to, I think, like yellow Ice Bolt into Waning Moon because he has no Arcane Barrier, and he just has an all blue hand, and I think he leaks no damage off of it, which is pretty unfortunate. And I also just mulligan his all blue hand. So there's also that. So it's just like really, really not ideal. I think I had another line where I could have just not let him filter and played like a blue Sigil of Protection and set up an arsenal, like a blue and arsenal, and have an Oasis in hand to pair with it. So I could be like a blue 0 cost Oasis Waning Moon was like my other line, and I have the Sigil already set up. So I don't know. That would have been better in retrospect, but no way to know that. And then he just ends up having a lot of blues in a couple other key spots. Like there's a point where I get the life totals pretty low. I've been drawing like not great hands, and then I finally get the life totals like kind of low. The game's sort of close, and I managed to get him. I think he's at 4, and I go to 1, and I play a red Arctic Incarceration, and hope that that's good enough. But it just isn't because he has again like multiple blues, and then he's able to just kill me actually. So like he's able to kill me through my damage and present lethal. So
Mm,
yeah,
yeah.
I had some like very awkward like all red like or like one red like one blue hand 3 red kind of thing in my 20 blue deck, and then he has the 3 or 4 blue hands when he needs it. So how it goes, I guess.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Your last round then?
Yeah, so my last round was also against a Phi. This game just felt like my deck was a completely different deck. Like it drew the way that you would expect it to draw, and the way that it kind of drew in the first game as well. Different matchup, but just like everything was clicking. I was Aether Ice Feigning, and the game wasn't particularly close. It felt like I was in control pretty much the whole time. And yeah, Icelander versus Phi things.
Let's move on to Blitz. To everyone's surprise, I actually didn't play all the rounds in Blitz, and
What hero were you on in Blitzstream?
I was playing your exact same list. How do I say this? I was playing Yuki's Icelander list. Whatever she handed me on the weekend before is the list I was playing. So it was like it felt like a pretty stock Icelander list, no?
Yeah, it was incredibly stock, about as stock as it gets. Maybe the only somewhat notable thing is I was choosing to play 2 Insidious Chills instead of 2 Amulets, kind of valuing the 2 block and valuing that in some percentage of your games you just go first, and then you get to play an Insidious turn 0, and you often just kind of win off of that. So I kind of like having that. It works out to be about like 10% of the time you'll go first and have Insidious in hand. So I kind of like those odds of like just having a 10%er to just not actually win the game, but pretty close, honestly, in Blitz. So
Yeah, fair
yeah.
enough. I ended up playing a Prism on the first round. At this point of this tournament, I am completely done. So I didn't have a full CC deck and a full Blitz deck. Like I had to like switch over some cards and like some equipment, like Tunic had to like move. Um, but I got very lazy in sleeving up all my cards. So I had my full main board, the 40 card main board sleeved up, but then I got lazy to sleeve up the equipment. So my board, it was really funny. I did also one more thing that I guess is crazy to some people was I wasn't playing with a playmat the whole weekend. Um, I just didn't bring one with me, and I didn't pick up the Worlds package until like later on Saturday. So I just didn't have a playmat. And the other thing was that because I was too lazy to re-sleeve my equipment. Like I just had a bare equipment slot. Like just none of my equipment had sleeves on it. So I'm playing with like a Cornet Peak without a sleeve. I have like my Tunic without a sleeve. I'm slamming my dice on it, and my opponent was just like, "Wait! Before we begin, can I just take a picture of your board?"
Oh boy. Why didn't you just leave it in the sleeves from the other deck? I don't understand.
I I was like it was like a different color or something, so like I like pulled it out to like try and match with the other sleeves, or I was going to sleeve with, and then I was like, I'm gonna drop from this event anyways if I lose one.
Oh my god.
And then I was like, I put things, and I was like, oh, where's my Icelander? I don't have my Icelander, so like I dig through like the bottom of my bag to like find the Icelander I used, or like the backside of like a fire or something. You know what I mean? Like there is this
Mhm.
Icelander, so it's like the scuffed Icelander that I'm playing with. We end up playing the game, and my opponent makes this horrendous misplay of activating a Goliath Gauntlet after he's played one attack already, and he activates his Goliath Gauntlet, and I'm assuming it's gonna be a Herald of what's the Herald with Dominate that draws cards?
Erudition.
Erudition, yes. I'm assuming it's a Herald of Erudition, but then I'm just like, wait, in response to your Goliath Gauntlet, I'm gonna play Aether Hail, do 2 damage to you, give you a Frostbite token. And then he pauses and looks at me, and then looks at his hand and just stops for like a solid 4 minutes. Like just he has this he clearly does not have enough to pay for this to pay for the frostbite. And then he just goes, Arsenal go.
Oh my
So he
gosh.
bins his Goliath gauntlet, and then basically now the game is like pretty like I have a pretty free game essentially, right? Game does get quite close, but there's this turn where the prison player is like can make spectral shields and like block out damage and try and do damage back with Merciless. It's the one that does damage whenever an aura pops.
Yeah, merciless.
Yeah, so he's like trying to get like maximum value, and like he's tanking when we have like plenty of time, 13, 14 minutes. Um but like he's thinking for like a good 3 minutes at this point, and I get quite bored because I've already thought through all of my plays depending on what he does. So like I start playing with my Icelander token and like just flicking it around, bending it in half. One of our friends, Clay, is done his match at Worlds and is like just came up to start watching this game, and then he just like looks at me. I look back at him, and then I'm just holding this like crumpled up Icelander. It's like bent in like 5 or 6 different ways, and it's just like I lay it flat on the table, and it's like in like a small bowl type shape. You know what I mean? So like it's like completely like disfigured at this point.
Oh my goodness.
So I had a lot of fun doing that. Like that was I had a lot of fun doing that. But I have at this point I'm like completely tuned out of this event.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. Okay, so that was my, and then I ended up winning that game. Very close game actually, but ended up winning. And then the round after I played against an Oldham, and My first hand is, what is that card called? Frostex? It was like a double Frostex hand and some other blues. Sorry, not the first turn. I end up arsenaling, so I guess it's the second turn. It's like a double Frostex hand with some other blues, but the card in my arsenal was an Emir Scalding, and it was this really awkward turn where he's like presenting me with a red Thunderquake, but I can't block with my Frostex, or I basically can't win against Oldham. So like I'm trying to keep this Frostex in hand, but then if I try and keep this Frostex in hand and block with the other cards, the other cards blocked for 2 each, and I couldn't. So I was gonna take an insane amount of damage. Or I block with my Frostex and like prevent a bunch of damage, but then not have Frostex for the rest of the game and lose the game that way. Like I was in this like really awkward spot where I'm tanking for like 3.5 minutes or something like that, and I'm like, I think I lose this game. Like just on the spot, I'm just like, I can't find a way to win this game anymore. So I end up like not blocking an attack for 11, playing out a Frost Hex, playing out Emir Scalding, which he ends up blocking some of it, arsenaling another Frost Hex, that Frost Hex getting stuck in my arsenal, and then he command and conquers me, and then it was a bad game.
Yeah, that sounds a little bit rough for sure.
Yeah. And so I end up losing against the Oldham. So I immediately drop, run to the side of an area, and sign up for the daily double that was gonna happen in like 4 minutes after that round ended. So good timing.
Very nice.
How did the rest of your worlds go?
Yeah, so going into Blitz, I'm 7-4. So if I win out, I top 16. One loss, I top 32. 2 losses, I top 64. Pretty cleanly. So pretty incentivized to do well and feeling okay about my deck. Nothing exciting, but feels pretty good. I end up getting paired against Cody Williams the first round of Blitz. So this is round 12. He's on Oldham. We have a pretty close game. I kind of waste my equipment and block in a spot where I shouldn't because it's just efficient to do so. I think I end up like polar blasting and then using both of my iron hides, and then the next turn he opens me and I'm like, yeah, I probably should have just kept it, because then I could have done the 2 iron hide pieces and then the helmet to block 6 and then put a 3 block in front of it and be okay. But I didn't do that, so the game got very, very close, and I very nearly died, but managed to just kind of like squeeze it out at the very end. I had like a very well timed Aether Ice Vein when I think when he had his second Oakenold, I managed to skillfully line up my red Aether Ice Vein with it and disrupt him. So, yeah. All first cycle, so yeah.
Oh, okay. Skillfully.
Yeah. The next round, I play against a friend of mine, Sean Yang. Really solid player, and he is on Levia, which is a little bit spicy. I haven't played against Levia at all, and he has told me that he thinks that the Levia versus Icelander matchup is pretty good, so I'm like not super thrilled to be playing him. I end up having like about the best draw possible. I end up coming in with, he has like a really kind of off turn, and then I get to go in with E-Strike for 7, Snaps, Wounded Bull for 10. And the Wounded Bull is for 10 because he's like, he kind of has to husk the E-Strike, because if my follow-up is Aether Ice Vein, like, it's just like unacceptable. Like he can't like not husk it and then get Aether Ice Vein and then not get value out of husk. Like it's just too bad.
Wow.
So yeah, I hit him really hard, and then I follow up with Channel like Frigid. And then after channeling once, I Aether Ice Vein him and channel a second time, and he misses the 50, I think he has like a draw random discard. He draws into a non-6 attack and then loses the 50-50 on the die roll and takes like 5 blood death. And and then I think I just like hit him again, and he has to block, and then he tries to Art of War his card, and I'm like, Emeritus Scalding Waiting Moon you for 7. Do you want to block this and go to 1 and then die to your blood debt, or do you want to not block this and just die?
I see. So it was like a convincing win.
Yeah, but like I still got pretty low. Like I did get to 4 or 5. I think if I had drawn not as well, um, the game might have been closer. Like it didn't feel like so far out of reach. It was kind of like surprisingly close, surprising like considering everything. Anyways, at this point, I'm feeling pretty good, right? I needed, so I'm still X and 4. If I can win out, I'll still top 16. So feeling pretty good about my spot. I end up getting matched against Zachary Wallach, who is on Reinar. And people might be familiar with his match against Hayden Dale in round 16. It's the same Reinar player, and yeah, very, very nice guy. Um, I asked him how his event's been going. He told me that he started the day 4-4, and he's just been winning out. So he's 5-0. He's on a tear, and he's like, yeah, it's been awesome. Everything's been going my way. It's just been a great day for me. And I'm like, oh, okay. The Reinhardt telling me everything's going his way is not thrilling. I do end up winning the die roll, and I go first. I forget what my play is. I think I just set up and don't allow him to filter, and then he ends up having like a Blood Rush Bellow, which is in his opening hand, and he gets to break his Barkbone Strapping, roll a 4, get 2 resources, go Blood Rush, Claw, Swing Big. So this is 20 damage with an Intimidate. So I'm not literally dead, but I'm very, very low. I do get to come back with like the same E-Strike Wounded Bull, or maybe it's E-Strike Findles. Anyways, it's quite powerful. But after having like a little bit of an off turn, I think he decides to block and preserve life a little bit there. And then on his next turn, he just I Aether Ice Vein him, and Waning Moon, he drops to 4. I have no arsenal because it was like an Ice Bolt, and I was never going to get value out of it. So I end up just going to 4, or making him go to 4, or maybe it was 5. Anyways, and after just like eating all the damage from the Aether Ice Vein, discarding a card, hanging onto 3 cards in his arsenal, he just rolls Scab Skins, doesn't have Gambler's Gloves or anything, just rolls Scabs, and ends up, I can't remember the exact sequence, but he ends up killing me off of it. And it's just very, very, very brave. If I think if he rolls a 1 there, he actually just loses the game. If he rolls a 2 or 3, I don't think he has lethal, and then he still might lose. So it was just like,
Okay, well, if he's gonna lose if he rolls a 2 or 3, he has to roll, right? Like,
but it's like a 50-50, and he's up
no, but like if he rolls a 2 and
like 12 to 4 life or something.
no, but if he rolls a 2 or 3 and still loses, that means if he didn't roll, he still loses.
No, but what I'm saying is he could have blocked more.
Oh, I see. I guess, yeah. Okay, if he
Like he just chooses to eat 7 damage and discard all to just like roll on Scabs.
oh, I get you now. He could have like he could have blocked for 6 more and then just done.
Yeah,
Okay.
he has AB3. He could have reasonably just blocked there, but he's just like, nah, I'm just gonna roll and then crush you.
Well,
He hit the
he hit over a 4.
yeah, I think he had a 5 or something.
Yeah, got high rolled.
It's pretty good. Yeah, very nice guy though, very, very friendly, and very exciting streak to go 8-0 on the final day and have that feature match against Hayden and blow him out of the water in also very exciting fashion. So I go watch that game.
Did Zachary top 8?
He didn't. He ended up top 16.
Yeah.
He started the day X and 4, so there was no way for him to top 8, but he did get to play in the Dev Challenge, which was pretty cool.
Fair enough.
So just moving through the rest of the rounds, I play against Nick Butcher, who's on Oldham. I end up winning fairly convincingly, I think. He doesn't really have any big Oaken Old or Pummel turns, and I just sort of value trade, chip him out with Frostex, pretty much exactly how you expect the matchup to go from Icelander if Olim isn't kind of getting the right combinations of cards. So I end up winning that one, and then going into the last round, I have if I win, I top 32. If I lose, I top 64. I end up playing fellow Canadian Gabe Scher, and he is also on Icelander. He ends up winning the die roll, and his deck is just a little bit more tech for the mirror than mine is. Like he has Sigils of Solace that he opens turn 0. I think he has like an Oasis Respite that comes in at a key time. Like he just has like a little bit more tech for the mirror, which is probably the right call, honestly. I think he was on the same deck that Hayden was on. I believe they tested together. So I end up losing this one. It's sort of close, but it's like I'm at 4 and he's at 7, and it's just so hard to ever be able to navigate a win from that spot. So I just felt like I was kind of behind that 3 life from turn 0 right away. So I end up losing, which puts me at 10-6, and I think I place like 45th or something like that. So I do end up cashing, but no PTI. I have a little bit of regret about this game because I congratulated Gabe on the top 32 afterwards, like after we had already submitted and everything, and we had been talking for a little bit. And then I was like, oh, congrats on the top 32. And he said, oh, no, I'm not going to be top 32. I'm like top like 35 or 37 or something. I was too low on the list. And I was just like, wait, you didn't top 32? And I realized at that point that had I asked him beforehand if he was live for top 32 and he said no, we probably could have arranged a prize split. And I could have, I would have top 32. He still would have top 64.
I don't know if you can arrange a prize split.
You can't?
I don't think so. Not in the.
Oh, really? Do they not allow it in FAB?
Not in a Swiss round where your placements aren't locked. Only in a top cut situation can you arrange a prize split.
Oh,
So like
interesting. Okay, I didn't
in a
actually know that.
situation where you essentially ask for a prize split there, you could get DQ'd. Yes.
Okay, I didn't know that you couldn't price split during Swiss.
No,
Definitely
I
good to
don't.
know.
I don't think so. Yeah, most games won't let you do that.
Oh, interesting. Okay, good to know.
I think people still do, but I'm just saying you're not allowed to.
Okay, yeah, not something I was aware of, but good to know.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on your top 32. It's like a good payday, $1,500.
Yeah, 64, but yeah, definitely.
Oh, sorry, top 64.
Definitely can't be upset with it.
Yeah, I would love it. $1,500, $1,500. Like, how can you say no to it? To an event that didn't really cost you much?
Yeah, it was. San Jose is only about a 2.5 hour flight for us, so it's quite easy to get to. And yeah, overall the weekend was a lot of fun. I was pretty happy with my result. I was kind of hoping to do better, but also realistically, I hadn't had the most time to prepare just because of work, and I was feeling not I don't know about like horribly underprepared, but not as prepared as I would have liked. And I think all things considered, the top 64 finish was still pretty good.
Yeah. I think before we wrap it up, just say congrats to Michael Hamilton. Like, wow. Like, man's a beast. Top, like, winning a bunch of events and then coming up and winning Worlds as well.
Yeah, I think I know that like there was a lot of like the best player in the world talk, and I personally felt like it was like a little bit overplayed, but you know, I didn't expect Michael Hamilton to just come up and win after also winning U.S. Nationals. So pretty strong case for best player in the world, or certainly at least best results in the world. I don't think anybody can really compare. And yeah, it'll be very exciting to see what he does in the coming year, because he's truly proven himself to be an incredible mind at the game.
Yeah. Well, I guess one other player that's stood out this weekend will be Pablo Pintor. He ended up top 8ing the calling after I think he dropped at 4-4 from Worlds, right? Or 5-3?
Yeah, I believe so. 4-4.
4-4? Yeah. And then he ended up top 8ing, 8 ing, top 8 ing top 8 ing top 8 ing the calling. Like, it's like no one's business.
Yeah, so did have the unfortunate showing at, at Worlds, but then didn't miss a beat and crushed it in the calling. So congrats to him.
Okay, I think that's about it. Is there anything else you want to say about Worlds?
Mm. Do you want to talk about Blitz at all as a competitive format? What do you think about Blitz?
What do you mean by that?
So, what do you think about Blitz being part of Worlds? Because I feel like that's sort of like a bit of a hot topic is people's opinions on like should Blitz be a part of a Worlds tournament like this? Are you a fan? Do you think it adds something? Would you prefer no Blitz?
Oh, I prefer it a lot. Um, I don't really understand why someone would say CC, like an only CC 16 rounds of CC is a better format than a mixed format. I just don't really get that argument, honestly. At least in my head, like CC feels like not a true coin flip format, but it feels like all my matches that I lost, I didn't really lose to skill or my opponent outskilling me. I felt like the two matches I lost to the die roll, I felt like I had no chance to win that after I lost the die roll. And then the one against Oliver where he put Channel Lake for 8 turns, I was like, yeah, like I don't know what you want me to do. Like I played all four of my belittles and I drew two epots and still lost that game. So if you
Yeah,
go ahead.
I think the common sentiment is that like maybe that happens a little bit more even in Blitz because of the lower totals and the more
Uh,
explosive gameplay. So that's what people have been some people have been critical of.
yeah, but it's like against the best players in the world, that doesn't even really matter because obviously if it's like a calling setting, I would rather play CC than Blitz, where I'm playing against like lower caliber players. When I'm playing against higher caliber players, it honestly doesn't feel like I'm getting that much of a higher edge playing CC. Everyone's gonna be fully prepared. Everyone's gonna have matchup knowledge. Like you're not really gaining anything. It feels a lot more like matchup lottery in CC. Whereas in Blitz, because you have to choose your 40 cards before the tournament, it feels a little bit more like you can get rewarded in your deck choice or like your card choices. But at the same time, like honestly, like any format you play is gonna be quite coin flippy, and when there isn't that much edge to be gained against other players, it didn't feel it didn't feel like the format really mattered, at least to me. And I think this changes if Dynasty came out the weekend before. I think if Dynasty came out a weekend before and there was a huge format shakeup, then then maybe Blitz would have been worse and CC would have been better. But because Blitz felt pretty solved and like when you handed me the list and I looked at it, I was like, okay, this is like what I thought you would hand me like 3 weeks before the event, essentially.
Hmm. It's interesting. Yeah, I don't know if I agree about Blitz being solved. I think that like Icelander, I think everybody agreed that Icelander was probably like the deck to beat at that event. It was interesting to see like a lot of people bring Prism, which was a deck that was on my radar as well. I ultimately wasn't happy with it. I was a bit afraid of the aggro matchups, and but Icelander just ended up being such a huge percentage that happened. But yeah, we actually had a bunch of bans before this event and no major blitz events. So I don't know if I agree about it being solved, but
Well, I'm not really saying that it was solved or anything, but I felt like there wasn't some major edge to be gained. Clearly there was no breakout deck that people like that a specific team went all 5-0 in. Like that's just not gonna happen. Same with the CC meta. That's just not gonna happen where somebody found some off the wall meta deck that like beats every deck in the format. Um, so I don't think it honestly matters too much on what the format is because people are going to be prepared for this event. And in events like the callings where you're going to have a majority of the players not prepared, that's where you can actually gain these edges. And like when you are the better player, you end up getting to win more often. So like at events like at Worlds, where Michael Hamilton prepared a lot more, and I think he actually gained some edges in those matchups, which is why he won. And obviously in the draft portions he did well too, which I think I think his strategy was like force Icelander, and that really paid off
Mhm.
for him. So yeah, I don't know. It's just like in these higher level events, there's just not that much edge to be gained. So trying to find that edge can get pretty valuable. And I feel like in Blitz, you can actually realize that edge, unlike in CC where people have sideboard, people can be more prepared, and people just you don't have those. I think you have less free wins in CC, which is something that becomes a little bit less good in a format or in a tournament with all good players in it.
That's reasonable. Yeah, I think as far as in like competitive integrity goes, having blitz in there is not a problem. Um, Overall, I think I was happier having blitz than not having it. I think that that was good. I do feel like I kind of wish that blitz had was like somehow slightly different. It's sort of weird because like I understand that it's was kind of introduced as a way to get new players into the game and get them to try it out with like less going on. But I also sometimes kind of wish that you could leverage your sideboard just a little bit more. Even if it was just like maybe those 11, rather than having 11 equipment slots, you just have 11 sideboard slots. And then you can sideboard a few cards in a couple decks if you want to. Um, just because I did find kind of like running into situations where it's just like, this person is much more tech for the mirror than I am is just like very
Well, that's a choice that he had to make, right? Before the event started.
I guess so.
Yeah, like you could have done the same. Like you could have been like, I'm gonna be prepared for Icelander more, sacrifice my matchup against Oldham.
Yeah, but I feel like it's like more matchup lottery, I guess, which I am less of a fan of. So I wish that there was a way to give like maybe a little bit more control. But overall, like Blitz was a pretty decent format, I thought.
Yeah, yeah. I think I because I come from like a lot of different card games, there'll be games like White Shorts and um Cardfight Vanguard where you just don't even get to have a sideboard. So a lot of the meta revolves around having the one silver bullet against a deck. And I feel like in games like that where that one silver bullet can change the game, when you do actually be able to get that silver bullet off, it feels a lot more rewarding. Um, and then obviously, like I think the Icelander deck we played is like very well rounded and at beating everything, but we didn't really have a silver bullet to target a specific deck. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so that just comes down to like trying to read the meta game if you really wanted to, and gambling on that over than doing, you know, play the well-rounded deck to try and go 4-1, 3-2.
Yeah, that's fair.
But honestly, either approach is pretty solid, and I really like. I I think I told you before the Worlds that I wanted a deck where I wanted to try and go 3-0 draft, then 3-2 CC, then 3-0 draft, then 3-2 blitz, and I feel like this is like the perfect deck for that. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
no, anything else you want to talk about?
All right, so that's going to wrap it up for us. Give you a little bit of an overview of our thoughts on Worlds and how our weekends went. Um, And if you do have any questions for the show, please feel free to reach out and let us know either on Twitter. You can find me at Yuki Lake Bender on Twitter, or you can find Jay at Ueda at UedaJ on Twitter.
Is it?
Or you can also email On the Bauble. Is it UedaJ or is it J Ueda?
Let me check. I actually don't know myself.
Pretty sure it's
Yeah, at
UedaJ.
Ueda J.
At UedaJ. J uses Twitter often.
Yeah, I posted a bunch.
I'm just fucking you. So yeah. Anyways, feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions or comments. Your feedback always helps. Or if you want to let us know in the YouTube comments down below, that would also be fantastic. Next week we will be talking about our thoughts on Dynasty. I think this week neither of us have really been playing all that much Flesh and Blood, so we haven't really tried out the new cards much. But yeah, we'll come next weekend with a full episode on Dynasty and our thoughts there. Until next time, thanks for listening.
All right. Good night.